Hello and welcome. I am DEJI360. Presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Atiku has finally settled for Delta State Governor Okowa as his running mate for the 2023 presidential election. Atiku announced Okowa's nomination on Thursday in Abuja. But speaking at the event, Atiku said making a choice among the three names shortlisted had been a difficult decision. A 17-member committee had presented Atiku with three nominees, namely Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel, and Delta State Governor Okowa, of which, of course, Atiku eventually picked the latter. Atiku says he picked Okowa because the governor personifies the qualities he always looked out for in a running mate, adding that such individual must fulfill the qualities to be president and one that could complement him as a president. He further added that he should symbolize the quality to unite Nigeria, not afraid to speak and give advice on governance in the country. Now, these qualities, he says, Okowa ticks the boxes. Following the announcement, Okowa will be screened by a committee already set up for that purpose. So what exactly does the current governor of Delta State bring to the table for Atiku and, of course, the PDP? Joining me to discuss this further is public affairs analyst and legal practitioner Monday Ubani. Thank you very much, Mr. Ubani, for joining us on the program. You look at Okowa. What do you think he brings to the table for the PDP and Atiku Abubakar?
Yeah, thank you, Deji, for having me. I don't know whether I'm the right person to ask to be asked that question. I think Atiku has his reason for picking Okowa,
Exactly.
Okowa, and he says that he typifies the typical vice president that he will want to work with. If you look at Atiku as a person, Atiku is a very strong, has a strong personality. He was once a vice president. And I don't think he enjoyed the kind of relationship that the vice president should enjoy with the president. I mean, in the second tenure of their presidency, there were issues between him and President Obasanjo. And so, in going for a vice president, Atiku will look out for somebody that is clearly very humble, that also will want to work with him in such a harmonious manner as to bring what he considers as good governance to the people. I see Okowa as a very gentle person. I have never seen him being angry publicly, like some governors are, whenever they are provoked and all that. He has always maintained a very cool and calculated mien. So that may have accounted for this choice that has taken place. So as I said earlier, Atiku has his reason for picking Okowa, but if I look into his mind, said why he did it. I think the issue of being a gentle person, a humble person, and then somebody also from the South, because the other persons are from the South, and he feels that this is a person that I can work with, if eventually I emerge as a president. That may have accounted for this particular choice that has just taken place.
Now, before he made that announcement, the name of Wike was, of course, up there. A lot of people had thought he was going to pick Nyesom Wike, and we understand that the party, I mean the committee now that brought those names actually put Wike's name first. Why would you think, or why do you think Alhaji Atiku Abubakar now settled for Okowa instead of Wike?
A very difficult question again, and I think Atiku also should be in a better position to do this. But let me answer the guess. We all know who Wike is and what he represents. Wike has been a very good governor, if you ask me, in terms of providing basic infrastructures to people of Rivers State. But Wike at times can be very abrasive. It can be very also aggressive. And if you want to choose a vice, if I want to choose a vice, I would like to choose a vice that knows more than I do. I won't want to choose somebody that always will enter into
somebody that is somewhat combustible, if you like.
That is the right word. Somebody, sometimes, when you are having an argument and he feels probably he has a superior argument and want to lord it over you. So you have to be careful, because the presidency must be seen as being harmonious. Are you following me?
Mm.
Wike is a very good governor. He's a lawyer and somebody that I also, have watched over years and all that. He has provided good governance in Rivers. But there is some certain things he says publicly at times that I as a lawyer, am taken aback. There are things he do, he does, as a governor, that also sometimes I am taken aback. There are certain things he says that are at times I'm also taken aback. I say, but I know this man to be a lawyer, I also know him to be a governor. There are certain things that I expect him to say and all that. He's not, he doesn't hide, he's not diplomatic. And for presidency, there is some level of diplomacy that is required. I'm not saying that you should lie or play, play a game with the position that you have gotten. But the point is that there are some things that you need to be a bit more diplomatic. You don't say it the way it is all the times. Be very careful. Be mindful of choosing with your words so that you don't create problem and give probably impression that there is problem even within your government. So is he somebody that can actually stomach some level of wrong done to him by the president? Can he? Can he stomach some of the things that somebody like Osibajo has stomached for the almost 7 years now he has been in power? And if you want to talk about somebody you can consider as an ideal vice president, you consider President Jonathan when he was a vice, and then Osibajo. I mean, these are people with cool men, with they tolerate a lot. There are things that you hear later that happen even within the presidency. They say, look, if I'm in the shoe, would have taken it. So can Wike actually be under pressure and take it without, voicing out his opinion in a very blunt manner? So these are some of the considerations. And I think even when they presented him as first, Atiku himself has been there in the presidency and knew the relationship he had with Obasanjo. He will not want a situation where that kind of presidency where you have altercation openly. In fact, it got so messy that Atiku was engaging President Obasanjo openly. We all knew that there was problem in the presidency. But between Osibajo and President Buhari, nobody can tell me that everything was rosy. But have you ever seen where...
I get your point now, but let me quickly ask you this. I mean, there's been so much talk this past few days now. There's been so much talk about the vice presidency. As we speak now, you still have that of the APC. So there's been so much talk about the running mate, of this presidential candidate. And you get the impression that, look, these running mates are very important, and that in choosing their running mates, these presidential candidates have to be very, very calculative, and they have to consider the fact that whoever they are choosing as their running mate would also be able to deliver votes from their end. You could say it's also one of the reasons why Atiku chose Ifeanyi Okowa. But the question is, as important as it would appear that the position of the running mate is, why do we always have a situation where when they eventually get into office, the vice president is essentially used as a spare tire? You hardly hear from them.
Yeah, because that is how the Constitution itself has provided for it. He's not in charge. He's only a spare tire, the way you have just mentioned. But he becomes very important if anything does happen to the president. That is when you now know that in choosing a vice president, you got to be careful, because if the president is not there, he should be ordinarily. He becomes the president. You remember when Yaradua was sick, and we had issue with the vice president then, taking over the position in order to, provide governance to the country, and some of the cabals, found it very difficult to allow him to operate until it became very obvious that they had to now invoke the doctrine of necessity that made the vice president now to take over as the acting president. So what we're saying is that it became apparent that we need to be very careful and choosy in choosing who becomes the vice president, because if anything does happen to the president, the vice president takes over immediately. Or if we want to even comply with the provisions of the Constitution, when the president goes on annual leave, when he goes on vacation, who takes over the running of the government?
And that's what I'm saying. But because we've seen cases in this country where presidents go on annual leave, they go on vacation, they just refuse to hand over to the vice.
And that is clearly unlawful. I'm in court now, in Court of Appeal, where the president of this country went out of the country, and refused to hand over to the vice president for up to 18 days. And there was no governor. There was a vacuum. And I feel that that is not the intent of the Constitution. The Constitution has provided that if you are going on an hour vacation or you are going on medical leave, you must have the president, you must hand over to him. It's only when you come back, the power is given back to the president. Now, the president of the country have always observed this particular provision in breach, especially President Buhari. He obeyed it a little when he came in, but after some time, he decided to observe it in breach. The same thing with the governors all over the country. So it is absolutely wrong. And we must insist that the provisions of the Constitution must be complied with. Because when these guys came in, they always swear that they will obey the provisions of the Constitution. And part of which is that if you are going on another vacation, you must hand over to your deputy or to the vice. And that is the provisions of the Constitution. We must not trample upon it. We must not observe it in breach.
Yes, and you're quite right, especially if you listen to what Atiku said. That's why I'm really surprised that despite the importance of that position, as we're beginning to see in choosing a running mate, these running mates, when they become vice presidents, usually they are treated with disdain, if you like.
It shouldn't be, because if I'm choosing somebody to work with, that person should be my soulmate. I should be able to confide in that person. But again, the vice himself or the deputy should not be too overambitious, because most times, again, it is issue of becoming overambitious, because you are choosing as a spare, and you must always comply and work with the person who is probably in the driver's seat, and that is the issue. So issue of being loyal to and obedient is key. But at the same time, he should not be treated with disdain, because, His Excellency, he shares the name His Excellency. He should be given responsibility. If you are a good leader, part of the good leadership, trait is that you must assign responsibility, especially to the persons you are working with. If you don't do it, then you are not a good leader. You can't do everything. But a situation in Nigeria where the leaders want to corner everything, that's why they don't even have time to spare in order to share responsibility with their
that's exactly what I mean, and that's where I actually have a problem. That you look at what is being done now, how careful they are in picking their running mates, and then they're getting there. They just they want to take on all the responsibilities to themselves and refuse to delegate to their deputies. It's even worse with the governors. Sometimes you imagine what deputy governors are for, to be candid.
For me, if I'm choosing a deputy, I should choose somebody that I have relationship with, somebody I can also work with, somebody I can tolerate, who can also tolerate me. That's where it's supposed to be. From beginning, you must choose somebody that, it's like a soulmate. If I am not there, he is there. I see no reason why, there should be political differences between you and the person who is your vice. After all, you are the one who has made the choice. I believe that Atiku has learned his lesson while he was a vice president. He didn't have a better relationship with President Obasanjo. I think that if he becomes a president, he should be able to have a good relationship with his vice. And that's why he has chosen somebody he considered to be somebody that appears loyal, somebody that appears obedient, also somebody that appears not to be too ambitious.
Let me quickly ask you this before I let you go. You think Okowa will give Atiku the votes of the South-South?
I don't know how popular he is, but I think that since Okowa was suggested and then Wike himself is very popular, Wike would have brought a lot of money into the game, into the fight, and he has a lot of people who follow him. He has followers, he has admirers. And then the man in Akwa Ibom is also a bit popular. But I think why he chose Okowa, if you ask me, is his gentleman, his humility, and then not being controversial for almost 7 years has been in power. I don't know whether there is any controversy trailing this man, apart from the fact that people are complaining that the people there are not getting all that they desire as a state. But when it comes to issue of public utterance, the man has always been very careful, and there is no any controversy surrounding him. So Atiku is a strong personality. Atiku would not like to have a strong personality as a vice. I wouldn't like that as a person either. And then you will not also have somebody that's too strong as a deputy managing director.
Absolutely. I understand. We wait for the APC to see who it chooses as its the APC candidate now. Who the APC candidate chooses as the running mate.
We are also waiting, and everyone's eye is on the listen now for APC to make for Bola Tinubu. Bola Tinubu is also running helter skelter in order to. Sometimes they throw up names and all that, and see the reactions of people and all that. APC always like to take last, So and then when they come out, they come out with a ban. So we're waiting to see who Tinubu is going to choose as his vice.
All right, Mr. Monday Ubani, thank you very much for your time and thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
I will take a short break and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.